Hey folks, Jonathan here. Time to replace my motor on my rotary phase converter. Homemade setup. Motor just took a crap on me out of nowhere. Been using it for a lot of years. I was actually working on that big lathe and I didn't realize I was having trouble with the bearing on it that was trying to seize, and I'm assuming was putting too much load on my old motor and burn it up. So I found another 7.5 horse brand new motor, same horsepower as what I was running, but I wanted to show everybody a quick tutorial here on hooking this three-phase power up, if you don't have three-phase at your place. And one of the dumbest things I ever done was swap over a machine from three-phase to single-phase, change the motor. It was a lot of work, and I ended up with a machine that I don't care for that much. It's hard to reverse the single phase, and it's just not the same to me. So I'll never swap another one back, especially not after learning how a phase converter worked and how you can wire them up. They're really simple. No reason in the world to be scared of hooking up a three-phase when you've only got single phase. As long as you've got a dryer plug or 220, 210, 220, whatever you want to call it. Now, first off, I am absolutely not an electrician. Barely know anything about it. Probably be a good person to teach somebody this, because I'm not going to overcomplicate it with BS that that you won't understand, because I probably don't understand it either. So we're going to get at this quick and see if we can get her knocked out. Now, I'm not hooking my motor up right this minute. I'm just doing this to show you, and then I'll hook mine up. But I'm doing this actually on this board, and I'm going to draw everything out on here, so it'll be a little more simple, so everybody can understand it. But what we've got here, three-phase, 7.5 horse. This is a low voltage, high voltage motor, which would be 220 or 440. And as you can see, they mix the numbers around there, but on low and high. But it'd be 220, 440 is what I would know it as, and no matter what the numbers are on it. So we're going to start out with low voltage. It's my understanding there's 2 windings in this motor, and depending on high and low voltage, and the only difference would be the 2 windings would either be hooked parallel or in a series. And parallel would be low voltage, and in a series together would be high voltage. And that's why you have to change the wires. And we of course are going to hook low voltage, so we're assuming that we're going to be hooking it up parallel inside, and instead of in a series. But basically I've already hooked our wires up, and this is what you've got. You've got down here at the bottom, you've got 4, 5, and 6. Okay, which is T4, 5, and 6. They just get wired together. And then you've got T1 and 7, you got T2 and 8, T3 and 9, and they are wired together. So what we're going to do is this will be T1, T2, and T3. Now these are not hooked to the wires. I've just got 3 different colors, so it'd be easy to see and understand. So we need to make this T1, this is T2, and this is T3. So that's our wires coming out. This is all you need, except for the ground wire that's going to be running off the case of the motor. There's usually a screw somewhere to put it on, probably on the inside, but definitely got to have it grounded. So three-phase has got 4 wires. It's got these 3, and then you've got your ground. And then single phase would have 3 wires. It would be the 2 power and 1 ground. So I'm just going to draw a switch box out and the power coming in and how we do it. And then the other thing you've got to look at is, how do you want to start this motor? It won't start on its own unless you've got a static phase converter. You can rope start it. You can use a pony motor to start it. I use a pony motor, and I've got my own reasons for that. But I'm going to show you how to wire it with a static converter, a static box. It's really simple. But the reason you would use a rotary over using just a static box, or even the variable speed drive that everybody's buying now, a lot of people's buying. I've got 9 machines that run 3-phase power, and if I used a static box, I would have to have 9 static boxes. Or if I used the VFD variable frequency drive, I would have to run 9 of them. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to walk to a machine, turn it on, and go with it. So what I've got is I've got this basically running my 3-phase system. And I can run 2 machines at the same time. I can't really start 2 machines at the same time. This is 7.5 horsepower, so it will run a motor that is half the size of this. Now, well, let me rephrase that. It will actually run a motor that's the same size as this, but it won't start a motor. You need to start half the horsepower. If this was a 10 horsepower, you wouldn't want to start a motor any more than 5 horsepower with it. So your machine motor would be half the horsepower. Now, it'll run 10. But so if I start a machine up, and let's say it's a 3 horsepower, I can start it up, go to running it no problem. And then I can go to another machine and start it, and the equivalent would be 6 horsepower, but I've got a 7 horsepower idler, so I can run 2 machines at the same time. I just don't want to start them both at the same time. So that's what we've got, and like I said, the reason I'm doing it is so I don't have to run so many VFDs or run a bunch of static boxes. But anyway, this is our wiring. This is how you're going to do this motor. This is basically the same way you'll do your motor on your machine. If it's wired for high and low, you'll wire it for low. If it's not wired for high and low, it'll already be wired like this, or should be. And so we've got T1, T2, and T3. Now we're going to draw our box out, and I'm going to show you how you would run your 220 single phase. I'm going to run it from the bottom up into the box because I've got the wires coming down. It's just easier for me to show, even though most of the time it's going to be swapped around. You'll be running your power from the top, and your motor from the bottom, but either way. But I'll get to drawing this box out anyway. Okay, what we have here is a switch box, and basically there's one lever on the side to switch it. It's got 3 different switches inside of it, so you'll be powering all 3 wires at the same time. T1, T2, and T3, and let me see, we're going to run our 220 single phase, which is right here. You got your ground, you got 110, 110. We're going to go ahead and run it up to the bottom, and I will show you how. I think I'll run it over to the side a little bit, because we're going to run our other 3-phase wire coming out, going to our motor right here. So we'll try to draw this out so it's pretty easy to understand. So what we're going to do, our ground, of course, we're going to ground on the box. We're going to ground this motor case, motor housing, also to the ground. We want everything grounded. One leg of our 110 to T1, and we're going to run the other leg of our 110 to T2, just like that. Okay, and that leaves us with T3, nothing hooked to it. So pretty simple so far. Alright, now we're going to bring our other wire in, our other 3-phase wire, which would be right here. We're going to bring it through this hole, and we've got 3 leads coming off of it, just like we've got T1, 2, and 3. So we're actually going to bring one of them, which is T1, over and hook it into the T1. We're going to bring T2 and we're going to hook it into T2. We're going to bring T3 all the way up, and we're going to hook it into this side, so it's not switched, it's straight to it all the time. Then of course we're going to hook the ground coming out of here to the same ground, as everything else is. So as that is right there, you could spin this motor, flip this switch on, and it'll run, and it'll make 3-phase power, just like it is. That's basically all you need to run a 3-phase unit off of single-phase power. Actually, really simple, much simpler than people think, and people are kind of scared of it, worried about it, but it's not hard at all to do. So now what we want to do is hook a static box. Can be bought cheap on eBay. We're going to hook a static box up. Now all it has is A, B, and C, which is just three posts. Of course, you want to ground this box along with everything else. Ground it all together. So we will be mounting this box here, and you figure there's 3 legs coming out of it. Hopefully you can see them. Just 3 wires. Now the way my box was hooked up, these 3 actually hook in 1, 2, and 3, just like they are. 1 to there, 1 to there, and 1 to there. Now it had power on it all the time. Why? I don't know. That's the way it was set up. Now there's other ways of doing it. It's my understanding that you can basically hook it up just like it is, but on T3, if you'll add a single pole switch right here, you can leave this on all the time and just use this switch wire, and that will turn it on and off. I've never tried that, but that's what they say you can do. But it's really simple. Just your 3 lines into your box. You've got 110 going to each one of these legs to make 220, and then your 3rd leg is actually produced from the idler motor. So hopefully everybody can understand that. It's actually really simple. It's not hard to do at all, and don't let 3-phase scare you. To reverse it, these 3 wires, T1, 2, and 3 on this coming out, if you'll change any 2 of them wires, you reverse your motor. If you take off of T2 and T3 and swap them, you've reversed your motor. And that's why it's so easy to work with. You can put a rotary drum switch, hook it up, and make it reversible. 3-phase, you can use smaller wire because it don't pull as many amps, is my understanding. And I've never had any issues with it, and I like using it. So hopefully you can understand this. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer. I don't know everything there is to know about it by any means, but don't let it scare you. That's the important part. But now I'm going to go get this motor hooked up and get my machines back running, because I've been down for a couple days. So, all right, appreciate everybody watching. Till next time, bye.